So in this video, Alex and I are going to talk about how you know you're ready for your first competition, whether it be for Olympic weightlifting, powerlifting, strongman, whatever. This is probably a question we even ask like the most out of people who have come here, right, where people have a lot of anxiety for doing their first meet, and they want to know like, how do I know if I'm ready? And Alex has a lot of strong opinions about it, so I'll let him start first.
I say you're ready for your first meet when you're ready for your first meet, right? When you decide that you want to compete, that's when you should do your first meet. People overthink competition too much. Like they overthink like, oh, I'm not going to be the strongest person out here, right? I'm not going to be top 3. I'm not going to podium, right? And that prevents them from competing. And my thing is, no, like you got to get up there and you got to experience it, right? And if you bomb your first meet, then bomb your first meet, right? It was your first meet. You got an excuse then, right? But don't bomb your 3rd or 4th or 5th meet, right? Because then there's no excuse, right? So the thing is just get up there and compete. And when you feel like you're proficient enough at your movements and you're able enough to move around some heavy weight, get in there, get your feet wet.
Right, like you know, like one thing we talk about a lot is that like people think that they're gonna set the world on fire, or they're gonna show something that people haven't seen, right? Or they have anxiety about that, right? You go to that first meet, you're not gonna do something that like no one's ever seen, right? And a lot of people who are in powerlifting and weightlifting, they're just happy that they have somebody new who's coming there, right? Okay, these are communities, especially local meets, right, that aren't very big, right? So they're just happy that it's still growing, that it's a sport that people still show interest in, and the majority of people will make you feel welcome, right? Okay, we really have had very few experiences where we brought new athletes there and like someone made them feel uncomfortable, right? Generally, people leave the competition having a great time because of that.
And it's like a space where people are overwhelmingly supportive, right? Yeah. And if they're not, it's like that's their problem, right? But like that said, it's like no one actually is going to care that much about you, right? Everyone thinks that it's about them, and it's an egotistical sport. Oh, I want to be as strong as I possibly can be. But at the end of the day, like nobody's really watching you. They're watching their friends. Exactly. They're watching their relatives. They're watching.
No one's paying attention to you.
Nobody cares about you.
That should be something to make people feel a bit more free and a bit more willing to actually do it and stuff too, right?
One of my clients told me that he bombed his first meet ever, right? He bombed his first meet ever. All weights that doesn't say a lot for me as a coach, right? But he bombed his first meet ever because he was super nervous, and then he finished the meet, and then he said to me, he's like, you know, I just realized for the first time that nobody up there cares about what I did. Like everyone was encouraging me to do better next time. Like so that's what it's about. It's about just getting up there and getting into your competition.
Right, and you know, the whole idea of like people think that they need to become like this like competitive, like need to gain a competitive mindset, or they need to learn how to be a competitor before they go to their first competition, right? And that's not what it is. If you want to be more competitive, you have to compete. Like you have to learn how to actually deal with that stress. And there's nothing you can do in training, nothing you can do in the gym that's going to prepare you to do that, except for actually doing it itself, right?
And maxing out in the gym is not like maxing out on a platform, right? Like it's more strategic.
Right. Yeah. But because people will still watch us and be like, they still didn't say shit and stuff, and I want some metrics to actually gauge my progress by, right? One thing that we did come up with, right, is that something that you can use as a gauge to figure out, all right, am I actually ready to go to a competition and max out, is if you've had a consistent max for about 3 to 6 months or so, okay, right? Up until you get to that point in training, your max is changing so often, but it might not be just because you're getting like, you know, stronger. It might also be because you learn how to brace better, you've learned better technique, you've learned how to move better, right? So by the time you've actually established a max that doesn't change, you know, within reason, now you've probably developed enough proficiency and enough technique, right, to go out there and actually compete and feel like you're comfortable and ready.
I'm with that. And all the stuff I said before, getting your first competition, but but Jesse's right. I mean, there is a certain baseline level of competency and proficiency you need to have in the movements in order for you to be able to even perform a 1 rep max, right? Like, don't go on a platform having never done a 1 rep max in your life, right? You want to know a ballpark of how strong you are before you get up there, and don't go up there and do something crazy.
The same metric that I would use and stuff as well is if you feel like you've stagnated within your training, right? You feel like, you're kind of bored with it, you're kind of, having a hard time getting stronger, and right? Going to a competition is actually one of the best ways to actually get you back involved in it, right? So, if you kind of had like a passion to do a competition at first, but you kind of shied away for all those same reasons that we talked about, but now you've stagnated in terms of strength and in terms of passion, that's how you know that you're ready to go to compete, right? Because powerlifting and Olympic weightlifting is very numbers based. It is very, it is a personal journey, okay? But it's also, you need to kind of test yourself, and the best way to test yourself is to go to an actual competition, right? To Alex's point, doing a gym max out is not the same as going to an actual competition, right? We tell people constantly that what you do in a competition, your first competition is going to be so much more than you thought you were capable of, and that's what gives people that feeling and that fire of like, all right, this was a great experience, and also I want to do it again.
No doubt, yeah.
Cool. So if you like this, like, subscribe, and share, and do it right now.